that kind of stuff. But I think that there is some constructive things that we can have and talk about from an NBA perspective that leads back to the Mavericks too, and Luka and all this. There's this, the NBA is different now, right? Like the NBA is so different. Guys are hunting fouls all the time. Guys are trying to create contact. They're trying to just, like, there's so many plays. I think Cranjis McBasketball like tweeted a bunch of these.
I love those tweets. Yeah.
Yeah. All these different tweets of guys like trying to hunt fouls and even hunting fouls off of screens and like weird stuff that they were doing that just doesn't fly with FIBA rules and international rules. And when they have to just put the basketball down and like actually play basketball, sometimes they get pulled out of the game a little bit because scoring is unnecessary in the NBA. Like you just have to score. Defense is kind of optional because of there's so many rules that take away the defender's power, where those rules aren't necessarily there in the NBA. Things like the Kawhi closeout rule, right? We saw that real like BS Brook Lopez flagrant foul in Game 2 of the Finals, and
Kevin Love's not getting that call.
Kevin Love's not getting that call in FIBA. So it's been really interesting to see some of these highlights and clips and to think about how you have to adapt. And it honestly makes me more impressed with Luka, right? Like so impressed that he can like vacillate between the two different versions of basketball and be so good with these FIBA rules, and then also come back and be so good with these NBA rules. Like he's a genius, right? Like there's just something about him that he's able to just like adapt to both sides of it.
Oh yeah, man. Can we just take FIBA refs and say, hey, can we replace Scott Foster?
Well, let's watch a couple more games before we make a call like that.
But when it comes to USA, I think you can have your ears perked up a little bit. I'm not like full on. I still think they're the obvious favorites to win the whole thing, but I do think it's fascinating just to watch them play against. I watched some of that Nigeria game and just to see the energy and the passion that Nigeria is playing with. And it's like, okay, like we got to have that. And I think eventually they will get that whenever they get to Tokyo. But just I'm really just looking at the field, like who's going to give them that, who's going to have the real chance at getting a medal in Tokyo. It's like Slovenia after Luka, his games to qualify and all that stuff. It's like, will Slovenia get a medal? And I think naturally, if you've like keeping up with any type of international basketball at all, you're like, okay, fun story, but really, will he really get a medal? I don't know, because other teams. And you start looking at it, it's like, well, who's the other teams that's going to medal besides USA? I mean, you're looking at France. I mean, France is going to bring back those guys. You're looking at Gobert, Batum, and like they have a lot of NBA guys, but Spain's always there. Spain's always like a juggernaut, and the Gasol brothers and Rudy Fernandez, Sergio, like all those guys. You still have Australia, who, I mean, they just beat the United States last night. So, and then I think on the outside, do you put Slovenia in that group just because of Luka? I don't know. I think some people listen to this podcast will, but I put them just on the outside, like the fun teams, Slovenia, Nigeria. I think there's another team I'm forgetting that have in that next group. But is there a chance that Luka and Slovenia walk out of Tokyo with the medal? I really think they could. And I think that first round, like I think they're better than Argentina. And I think that first group matchup between Slovenia and Spain, I'm fascinated by. Sign me up. I'm so excited for that game.
Every year we have like international basketball where these teams, like these country teams, put teams together and send guys out there. Like the identity of your team is so important, right? When it falls into line, when it's okay, Kobe's the guy and we're all falling in line after him. They have Durant, but I don't know if this team is necessarily like we're gonna all fall in line. It seemed like that they were just giving it to Damian Lillard, like go bail us out in the fourth quarter kind of deal. Yeah. And I think with Slovenia, obviously they have Luka, and then everyone else falls in line after that and knows your spot, and you're running through one guy. I think it's easier on an international stage like that because you're not going to have a ton of time to practice. You're going in there, you're going to play like less than 20 total games or something like that between the exhibition and then the actual games and stuff. Like you don't get a lot of time to try and get that teamwork stuff together. And so if you've had some guys that played together and then you have one guy that you can just run stuff through, I think that's an advantage. So I think Slovenia could come away with a medal. And of course, we're gonna be your Slovenia coverage right here. Everyone else is gonna be covering USA basketball, and we'll talk about USA basketball every once in a while. But we'll have at least some coverage post game after Slovenia games. So